Well, hello there, HW here for Tone Junkie TV. I am nothing if not a man of the people, and the people have spoken and they have said, HW, we want a Kingsley comparison video. Across the interwebs, from YouTube to the gear page, the people have made their voice clear. We want Kingsley comparison videos. And so I will oblige. Let's check them out. Okay, so now as you can see, we've got the Kingsley pedals, and I am playing the Sir Custom Classic Strat, very similar to the Classic Pro that's out now. I'm going to be using some single coil options as well as humbuckers. That way you can see what this thing sounds like with a variety of pickups. Okay, here is my clean tone into the divided by 13 profile on the Kemper. Okay, so let's go for a slightly overdriven sound. First, I'm going to use the Minstrel. Okay, let's try the Harlot. Alright, now let's hear the Jouster. Okay, let's hear how everything sounds with the humbucker. First, the clean sound. Now the Minstrel. Now the Harlot. And the Jouster. Okay, a couple things I'll note. Basically, the Minstrel gives us the option to really take those mids down. You can really hear the difference in the Minstrel and the Harlot. The Harlot has less highs even though I'm running that tone knob really high. But what's really happening is you're perceiving a lot more high end because there's not as much mid-range in the Minstrel. Just to jump back here and show you that, I could turn the mid-range up on the Minstrel and we'd get a sound more like this. So, comparing that now to the Harlot, it's really that mid-range that's making the Harlot seem darker. The Minstrel might be a tad bit, of course, sort of brighter. I'm also cutting some bass out too, but you know, you can see here if I pull, here's that tone, and now here's if I pull those mids back. So there's really a lot of flexibility here with the Minstrel that you get with that 3-band EQ that you just aren't going to get in the other two boxes. For that reason, for me, the Minstrel kind of takes the cake for this type of tone, this really low gain, kind of edge of breakup sound. I think if you're going to use this as a sound with these pedals, you've really got to consider that 3-band EQ, and it's also going to allow you to really dial in the sound with a variety of guitars. A really popular mod that I hear people doing on the Harlot is actually the bass mod, and Simon can actually take down some of that bass because it is a pretty bass-heavy pedal. Now, if you dial in your amp for the Harlot or for the Jouster, you're not going to notice that as much. So it's kind of a thing of, you know, your rig always works together. It's not one piece makes the sound, tone, and our signal chains. It's an equation. Tone is an equation, and it's the sum of all these parts. And so a lot of people are using the Harlot and not complaining about too much bass, and I think that's how you set up the amp. All sounding really similar at these settings, and I will say about the Jouster, to me, this is not where the Jouster shines. The Jouster, to me, is a high gain sort of thing, and medium to high gain sort of thing, and at this setting, if I bring the gain any lower, you really start to get that feeling that you're kind of getting right now, which is, it sounds like a high gain channel turned down. There's almost a choking kind of feel to it. Like the tube is just really thirsty for more power, but you're not giving it to it, and so to me, this is the weakness of the Jouster. The Jouster, look, this is what it is. The Jouster is a medium to high gain overdrive with 2 channels. That's just what it is. The Harlot and the Minstrel do a much better job, I think the Minstrel especially, of a low gain sound. Okay, so setting them up for a little more of a rock tone here, let's go back to the single coils, and here's my clean sound again. Here's the Minstrel. And the Jouster. Okay, so pretty similar again. Let's try that with a humbucker now. Okay, Harlot. And the Jouster. think you can go wrong with any of these boxes. I think they all sound great. What I hear on the Jouster in pretty much all the modes is just a little more of an aggressive voice. There's just more gain on tap. If you look at where I have the gain knobs now, you can kind of see on those sounds, you know, we're above 12 on the Minstrel, we're at 12 on the Harlot, and the Jouster, you know, look at that. We're not even at 12 o'clock. So the Jouster's really, you know, I've likened it before to having fire-breathing dragons inside powering the thing, because that's really what it sounds like. It gives you such a full stack, yelling, screaming sound. It just makes the guitar sing and scream in a way that I have not found another pedal really do. It's total rock and roll, but like we saw earlier, it doesn't really excel at those low to medium gain tones. Okay, let's try mode 3 on all these boxes. Okay, we've set up a pretty aggressive sound here. I'm going to go right to the humbuckers. Okay, we've set up a pretty aggressive sound here. I'm going to jump right to the humbuckers. First, the Minstrel. Now the Harlot. And the Jouster. So here we see the Jouster doesn't get much brighter on that last mode. It's really sort of fighting to get the high end out there. But really, that's sort of where you would kick in the second channel of the Jouster. I mean, you get that second channel with the Jouster, and it really just does something that the other ones aren't doing here. And you hear that in a couple different modes. That was mode 2. Here's mode 3. So it seems like the Jouster actually loses some high end in mode 3, where the other two don't seem to have that quite that same EQ curve, but mode 2 seems to be pretty consistent throughout the pedals. Here's mode 1 on that lead channel of the Jouster. Jump back. You know, jump back, I'd probably leave channel 1 somewhere right here. You're probably thinking, HW, all these sound great, but what does that mean? Which one should I buy? Well, here's my take. I lined them up in this order on purpose because I kind of feel like the Harlot sits in between the Minstrel and the Jouster in a lot of ways. The Minstrel seems to really excel, to me, at low to medium gain sounds. You can really get great edge of breakup tone. You have that 3-band EQ that gives you a ton of flexibility. The Jouster, on the other hand, it just breathes fire. It's total rock and roll. Sounds like dragons are in there. And I would say it really does the medium to high gain thing really well. If you're looking for something that can hit on both of those grounds, I recommend the Harlot. It doesn't have a 3-band EQ. It doesn't quite get as going as the Jouster, but it really gives you all that in-between stuff. And like we saw, mode 2 on all these pedals is very similar. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. I am HW, and thank you so much for watching Tone Junkie TV. HW, out.